everybody, I'm Yu-Gi-Oh! Deckmaster, and it's time for another Deck Special!
Hello everybody, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Deckmaster, aka Jason Lee. I figured I'd just show a live action, updated version of my tag deck. For those that don't know what tag is, it's Traptrix Artifact Generator. It's a play similar onto the word hat, hands, artifacts, Traptrix, or the new, I guess, what is it, Dragmatica version, DAT, Dragmatica, or Dogmatica, Artifacts Traptrix. So it's just another play on words. It's a Traptrix deck by most, but it does run a few engines like a small artifact and a small Traptrix, or a small artifact and a small generator engine. And the Traptrix build isn't as fully focused on the Traptrix build, but it does kind of focus more around that. So let me know your thoughts. If you like, please rate, comment, and subscribe. Commentary's good, back and forth. I do love to actually talk with people. So feel free to do so down below. And with that said, let's get started. Alright, y'all. I figure it's about time I did an update on my tag deck. As I described a little bit ago, I'll be showing off. Let me just get the camera adjusted right here. Okay, cool. I'll be showing off what makes my tag deck, you know, a unique spin on Traptrix. It's pretty much overall standard Traptrix deck, but you run a few more engines than most do in their builds. Let's start off with the Traptrix for those who don't know. You're going to start off with 3 Traptrix Marmello. Marmello has the unique effect that when she's normal summoned, she can add a whole normal trap from your deck to your hand. Now, a whole normal trap usually refers to a trap hole card, but you actually can add white hole, which is kind of funny. It's a counter to dark hole, which nobody would ever play, but you could add it, but no. You run 3 trap holes in the deck, I'll get to in a bit, and this card searches any of them from deck to hand. And when she's special summoned as a mandatory effect, you will target a back row your opponent controls and destroy it, or at least, when activated, do as much as possible. It is mandatory, so even if your opponent doesn't have a back row, you will attempt to activate and resolve as much as you can. However, you know, it'll fizzle if they don't have a card to be destroyed. But if they do, you have to, even if you don't want to. Then you run 2 Dionea. Dionea is kind of like the recursion / OTK enabler of the deck, sort of speak. She gets you to the OTK combo anyway. Traptrix Dionea has the effect when she's normal summoned, she can special summon any Traptrix, including another copy of herself, from the grave in defense mode. Their effects aren't negated, which is nice. And then, you know, you can go into exceed plays from there. She also has the effect that if she's special summoned, you can target a whole normal trap in your grave and set it, but it's banished during the end of the next turn. I wish to God it would have said when it leaves the field, because a lot of the time she'll special summon her on your opponent's turn, and setting one of those trap holes, which require your opponent to summon, you can't activate it the turn it's set, so you have to wait till your turn, and your opponent, unless they happen to summon a Phantasme, is not really going to see much play, and it'll be banished during the end phase. So that effect is really not as useful, but the special summoning effect is. And then I ended off with 2 Traptrix Mantis. A lot of builds run 3 of all of them, and then sometimes cards like Atrax, but I chose to go with a 7-card package for the main because, like I said, I'm running other engines. So she's the Stratos of the deck. When she's normal summoned, she searches a Traptrix monster from deck to hand. Usually it'll be Dionea for a following turn. And she doesn't have a special summon effect, but she has a quick effect where she can target a back row you control, return it to hand, and then set a back row from your hand. Sadly, she doesn't have the clause, but you can activate that card this turn. Otherwise, she'd be really good. That effect's really only good at dodging removal, or if you want to trigger the link. I mean, and I really would never want to do that on my opponent's turn. So it's subpar to say the least, but she does search, so it's something. And for those that don't know, Traptrix is, I believe, 1800. She allows you to activate trap hole cards from your hand, or whole normal traps from your hand, but you only run 3, so, you know, what's that really going to accomplish? The odds, you know? And your normal traps can't be countered or negated, which that's nice, but you don't really keep the Traptrix on the field for long, so she'd have to stay face up, so not really worth it. So I went with this 7 package for now. It seems to be the best. Then to follow up with that engine, of course, we run 3 Traptrix. I'm just going to go through the engine, spell trap, and extra decks, and then we'll show you what's left over. Traptrix is a normal trap that lets you banish a normal trap from your deck, except a copy of itself, and then set a copy of that card from your deck to the field. So, say you have 2 normal traps in your deck, you'll banish one and then set the other. This requires you to run multiples of your normal traps that you want to use this with. But it can search any normal trap from your deck. It sets it and lets you activate it that turn, but you can only activate 1 more trap after this effect resolves. That is before you activate the set one that it sets. It sets, it resolves. Now you can choose to activate the one it's set or any other trap you have, but you only get 1 more activation this turn. So it is a little bit of a restriction, but it can search out a good chunk of your deck. Then for the normal traps, because I want them to be more searchable, so they're not Traptrix worthy, 1 time space, which states that if your opponent would special summon a monster from the hand or extra deck, you return those cards to the deck or extra deck, spinning them basically, but you take 1,000 per. This is a good way to get rid of a threat on the field. I run 1 Floodgate Trap Hole, which says that if your opponent normal, special, or flip summons a monster from anywhere, you will flip all those monsters summoned at the same time, face down, and their battle modes can't be changed. And then finally, 1 Gravedigger Trap Hole, which basically says if your opponent activates a monster effect from the hand, grave, or banish zone, you'll negate it and inflict 2,000 burn. But keep in mind, you don't destroy the card if it's in their hand. So if they can reactivate it again, they can, but a lot of things have a hard once per turn nowadays, so you're most likely okay. And the 2,000 burn actually can play effect. That's a good chunk of damage. And then to round off the Traptrix, I run 2 Traptrix Sarah. A lot of builds run 3, but yet I said this is engine. With me only running 3 trap holes, trust me, 2 is more than enough. One thing I should mention, all Traptrix main deck monsters are unaffected by whole normal traps. So if your opponent happens to play a trap hole on you, you're okay. The odds, right? Unless in a mirror match, I guess. But if you're in a mirror match, your opponent probably wouldn't be that stupid. Traptrix Sarah, on the other hand, has the effect that if she's link summoned, she's unaffected by all traps. So please, do impermanence her. I beg you. And then she has 2 following effects. Once per turn each, if a Traptrix monster besides herself activates their monster effect, you can set a whole normal trap from your deck. So this is a real good way to get your trap holes from the deck to the field, set up for your following turn. This is usually how I like to search out Gravedigger. And then the second effect is if a normal trap hole, if a normal trap card, any normal trap, hole or not, is activated, you can special summon a Traptrix monster from your deck, which is pretty cool. I don't believe there's any restrictions to that, is there? Oh yeah, with a different name than cards you control. So there is a restriction. So if I already control, say, a Murmello, I can't summon another Murmello. But, you know, that's not really that big of a deal. You summon him from deck, and usually you will go for Murmello because then you can activate the mandatory attempting popping effect, which will then trigger her other effect. Dionea can also activate its effect if you have a hole in the grave, but if you summon Mantis, you're going to have to spin a card to activate, and that could be tricky. You might want to use the traps you have set. But in rare occasions, that can help. So this is the Traptrix lineup. For the artifact lineup, it's very, very simple. Just go ahead and get that out of the way. Just a 3-card engine. We run one Artifact Scythe, which when you can set it in your spell or trap card zone as a spell card. If it's destroyed while it's set there, during your opponent's turn, it'll special summon itself. And if by any means whatsoever, if it's special summoned during your opponent's turn, they can't access their extra deck that turn. And to help with that, you run 2 Artifact Sanctums. You're only running 1 artifact, so 2 Sanctums is good, plus it's searchable with Traptrix. This card lets you special summon an artifact monster from your deck. You want to activate this, of course, during your opponent's turn, because you won't be able to conduct your battle phase the turn you activate it. And also, Scythe won't get its effect unless on the opponent's turn. Also, if this card is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, I believe, owner's possession is, no, if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, okay, I thought so. You could destroy 1 card on the field. So this is really cool if you chain it to a destruction effect like Twin Twisters, because then you'll not only get to summon Scythe and stop them, but also get to pop a card, which is kind of cool, provided they have a card on the field to pop. But it's just a way to kind of control the field. You do run a few more artifacts in your side deck. Then for the Generator package, this is probably going to get the most heat. I don't run a big package. First of all, the thing you need to know about Generators is they have to tribute monsters. Most of them, the ones that you'd want to run in this kind of engine anyway, require you to tribute 2. Either of their type or actual Generator monsters. Well, unless you want to run a whole bunch of Brick 9s, that's not good. Because you're not going to ever keep a solid amount of them on the field. So to keep with the over-bricking, I chose 1 Generator and 3 support cards. The Generator I chose is Generator Needhog, the Generator Boss of Ice. Now, why did I choose him? Well, first of all, he only requires 1 tribute of a worm, meaning you contribute himself, or of a Generator monster, meaning you contribute the tokens. You will get 2 uses out of his effects compared to something like Har or Ugarda. This is why I chose him. What does he do? He negates an inherent summon. An inherent summon, for those that don't know, is a summon that does not cause a chain from the main hand or grave or anything. It cannot cause anything that you can chain to. If you can't chain to it, like Cyber Dragon, for example, then you're good to go. I believe even Ultimate Conductor Tyranno or Super Ultimate, whatever, the Dinosaur Boss Monster, I believe that's an inherent summon. This could negate that. And then almost all extra deck besides things that require polymerization. Contact Fusion, Synchro, Exceed, Links, etc. You contribute a Generator or a Worm type monster to negate the summon and destroy it. So, for example, Halifibrax plays. They summon Halifibrax, it's a no-go. You're getting that fucker off the field. If you were to do Har, which is an Omni-negate, he requires 2 tributes of a spellcaster or a Generator, which means after the turn he's summoned, he's dead in the water. And Ugarda requires 2 tributes of either a rock or a Generator, dead in the water. This card's live even after the next card summons its tokens. And by that, I mean 1 Generator Boss Stage. Now, this card is very simple. If your opponent adds cards from their deck to their hand, except during the damage step, but it will count it if they draw a card for their draw phase. You can special summon 1 Generator monster from your hand, or from your deck, in defense mode. I wish it added hand, because sometimes you do draw it. But no, from your deck in defense position. And if you do this during your opponent's turn, you get 4 Generator tokens, Light Fairy, level 4, 1500, 1500, in attack mode, but they are destroyed during the end of the turn. So, Har and Ugarda could all use their effect the turn it's summoned by this stage. But after the tokens are destroyed, they can't do anything because you'll never have enough Generators on the field to trigger their effect. While Needhog here contribute 1 token to negate the summon, and then on a following turn, if you haven't won already, contribute itself to do yet another negate. To help get this one stage out, because, you know, one stage is not really going to be drawn into all that often, you run 2 generator boss fights. Think of it as Metaverse with a drawback. You can activate boss stage or any generator build spell really from your deck or grave, but then your opponent draws a card, which will trigger boss stage's effect to summon, but your opponent does still get to draw a card. I would probably replace this for Metaverse if it was at 2, but it's not, so I run this because this can be Traptrix out. This gives you, this little package here gives you basically 2 inherent summon negations, while the artifact package gives you an extra deck lock, even if only for a turn. Then I do run a silent little Cyberse engine. No, there's no C in tag. Get a drink. I run 2 4-Mud Skipper. Now, 4-Mud Skipper's interesting. It lets you reveal an extra deck monster, well, a link in your extra deck, and if this card would be used as a link summon this turn, it takes on that monster's original name, type, and attribute, just for that link summon, though. And if this card is used as a link material, it can search a level 5 or higher Cyberse from your deck to your hand. I do believe all the effects are once per turn. Yeah. So, the main combo you will run is this. You do not run any other Sky Striker cards. You will reveal Hayate for 4-Mud Skipper's effect. You will then link it away with Kagari, because remember, it is treated as Hayate, and Kagari only requires a non-fire Sky Striker. You will link it away into Sky Striker Kagari. Its effect will trigger, giving you a search of a level 5 or higher Cyberse, and then you can link it away for Hayate, because Hayate only requires a non-winged Sky Striker. And what do you know? It actually has an arrow that points down. That plays factor into what you search. You will search one of 3 parallel exceeds. This is a level 5 wind level 8 wind Cyberse, 2000. And if you link summon while it's in your hand, you can special summon. Hence, you'll add it, then link into Hayate. You will special summon it to a zone a link monster points to, which Hayate has a downward arrow. Then you can special summon another copy of this card from your deck, anywhere on the field you want. And if they're summoned this way, their attack, defense, and level are halves, so they become level 4, 1000, 1000, which allows for an instant rank 4. So it's a little bit of a combo. And it helps get your exceeding aspects. Then you just run some generic cards, like, your hand traps, run triple Ash Blossom. Of course, will negate, you can discard it to negate a card effect that either adds a card from deck to hand, special summons a card from deck, or sends a card from deck to grave, and it's a hard once per turn. Double or nothing. This allows, if an attack of yours is negated, you can attack again, and during the damage step of that battle, your attack will be doubled. Just until the damage step. You run 2 Dinomyscus. Paleozoic Dinomyscus allows you to target a face-up card, discard a card, banish that target. This is a great way to get out certain floodgates like Mystic Mine and things like that. That's why I put this in here, and it is Traptrixable. Also, while it's in the grave, if a normal trap was activated, you can special summon it as a monster card, Water, Aqua, level 2, 1200 attack, 0 defense. And it has the effect where it is unaffected by monster effects, I believe. Isn't it? If summoned this way, this card's unaffected by monster effects, but it's banished when it leaves the field. I do not have the money for infinite impermanence. I wish to God I did. So for now, Triple compulsory evacuation device. Just target a monster on the field, bounce it back to hand. If extra deck, it goes back to the extra deck. 3 Shades of Brigandine. Phantom Knight Shades of Brigandine. Can be activated the turn it's set if you have no other traps in your grave. So you run 3 to hopefully open at the start of your turn. You set it, activate it while Sarah's on the field. It's a normal trap. Sarah will get a Traptrix. This will summon itself as a monster, level 4, warrior, dark, 0 attack, 300 defense. And then since they're both level 4, you get a rank 4 option. Granted, later games it is a little bit dead, or you have to at least set it because you'll have traps in your grave, obviously. But still, opening with this allows for some combo plays. And then, of course, 3 Solemn Judgment. Some people run Strike. I run Judgment because Lightning Storm, Twin Twister, possibly Harpy's Feather Duster in the future. I could totally see it. Etc., etc., etc. By paying half my life points, I negate any spell or trap, or the normal, flip, or inherent special summon of a monster. So it basically says no to everything. We'll go ahead and finish the extra deck. A little combo I like to run is Zodiac combo here. Their Shaka 9 is generic. You'll never get to use her effects, but you go to a rank 4 into her. Now, all Zodiacs, for those that don't know, have the ability to exceed with 1 monster from their archetype. So you'll go into Shaka 9 with 2 level 4s, and then you'll exceed into Trident. Now, the only effect that matters with Trident, because it ain't a Zodiac deck, you won't get all its effects, is the fact that once per turn as a quick effect, you can target a face-up card, detach a material, and destroy it. So this gives you a guaranteed pop on your opponent's turn, which is an extra spot of removal. I do advise, because it will have 0 attack and defense, summoning it in defense mode though, otherwise they could possibly OTK you. Of course, you run the standard Abyss Dweller, stops graveyard effects. Well, your opponent's effects that activate in the graveyard. Tornado Dragon, quick effect, pop a spell or trap. Pendulum Decks, yet again Floodgates you can't deal with. Time Thief Redoer. This is to be brought out only when you can go into Phantom Knight Shades of Brigandine. Because you want to bring this out with Shades. It has the effect that on each draw phase, or standby phase, one or the other, standby phase, you take the top deck of your opponent's, the top card of your opponent's deck and add it as exceed material. This is, it can be useful. And then once per turn as a quick effect, you can detach any number of card types, 1 each, spell, trap, or monster, well up to 1 each. You can only detach 1 spell, 1 trap, 1 monster at max. And depending on what you detach is what effects you'll get. And yes, effects is in plural. You can get all 3. If it's a monster, you'll banish this card until the end phase. Really don't do that one all that often. If it's a spell, you get a draw card. Too bad you can't detach 2 spells. Get a fucking pot of greed there. And if it's a trap, you can target 1 face-up card your opponent controls and put it on the top of their deck. Hence why you do it with Shades of Brigandine, because you'll have a guaranteed spin. Then, of course, you run the Utopia Double package. This works with Double or Nothing. Utopia Double states, as a quick effect, you detach a material, add a Double or Nothing, what do you know, from your deck to your hand, and then special summon from your extra deck when Utopia Exceed monster, except a copy of itself, by using this card as materials, and you transfer the materials. But that monster cannot attack directly, but has its original attack doubled. So you will in most cases go into this, and then go into your battle phase to work around Nibiru, detach, add Double or Nothing, overlay into Utopia, who now is 5,000. You will attack with Utopia. Utopia has the effect that you can detach a material to negate an attack, yours or your opponent's. You will detach, negate his own attack, and then play Double or Nothing, which will allow him to attack again, and during the damage step, his current attack is doubled again to 10,000. which is a one-shot OTK in a lot of cases. And just in case double or nothing isn't, as useful, because hell, even if you draw it, it's not too bad. You can get a 5,000 attacking, one time, 5,000 attacking Utopia. That's not too bad. You also have the option of Utopia Lightning. This card can stack itself on top of any Utopia. As an Exceed summon, materials are transferred over to it. And if it has a Utopia monster as material, during the damage step, you can detach 2 materials to boost this card's attack to 5,000. And it also has the effect that while it's battling, your opponent can activate Spell Trap or monster effects. This is like your main out to something like Red Eyes Dragoon, who will be 3,000 and can negate card effects. But since they can't negate the continuous effect of not being able to activate anything, your opponent will not be able to stop this thing jumping up to 5,000 and running over its blasted ass, getting it off the damn field. Or any other threat that might be problematic, you can also get rid of. So, yes, I know you're probably noticing I'm not running any of the Traptrix Exceeds. With me running Trident and things like Time Thief or Doer, I just didn't see the point of Rafflesia. Yeah, she does have added effects where your Traptrix, besides yourself, can't be targeted or destroyed by effects, or battle, or destroyed by battle, which is nice. It's nice. It's not great. Sarah's still 800, so it's nice. I can still OTK you through that. And she can detach to activate a trap hole from deck. Now, 9 times out of 10, I open up or can get multiple trap holes on the field first turn. So, what exactly would I be activating from deck? And her having high defense, yeah, she's unaffected by traps, but she just sits there when Trident can actually do something. And the new one really is better for a pure Traptrix deck. You need to run a lot of plants or run trap holes that remove your opponent's monsters by effects, because they got to be in the grave or banished to be able to use her effects. And you don't really do that in this deck. So both of them are just not good for this build, but if you're playing a more pure Traptrix build with more trap holes, definitely run them. For the Link plays outside of Sarah and the Sky Striker engine, we run one Pentastag. Pentastag is generic 2 effects, and any monster it points to can do piercing, aka if they attack defense, you take damage still. So even if you, say, Floodgate a monster, or your opponent is cheeky and decides to set their monster in defense mode, summon, you do the whole Utopia double combo right under this arrow, and you're doing damage still. 10,000 to a defense position monster, still probably going to win you game. In more cases than not, probably. One Link Spider, this works with Paleozoic and Shades of Brigadine. This is meant if you open up Shades and Parallel Exceed, but do not have a way to trigger a Link summon. This will allow you to Link summon with the downward arrow, because it just requires 1 normal monster, which trap monsters are considered normal. So you can summon your Parallel Exceed to the zone it points to. Sometimes, in a bad situation, you may need to. And then, of course, for the final Exceed, you run Boral Sword, or Link, not Borals, not Exceed, Link, which just, it gets big and beefy and can attack twice in most cases. Also can turn things to defense mode, which in certain situations can help you. For the side deck, this is more of a going first deck, so you want to decide to make sure you're ready to go second. That's the key thing. Go second so you can stop your opponent, because if you end up going second game 1, you're in an uphill battle. But if you go second game 2 and you have the right sides, it's a lot easier. To help with that, I run a few more artifacts. Artifact Lancia, same deal as before. You can set it in the spell or trap. If it's destroyed during your opponent's turn, it special summons itself. but it also has the ability that you can tribute it from the field or your hand to prevent banishing effects for that turn. A lot of decks love to banish. This stops that shit right up, and it is searchable or summonable off of Sanctum, which can also be searched by Traptrix. Then, because you don't want to deal with shit, 3 Nibiru basically says if your opponent summons 5 or more monsters this turn, tribute all monsters on the field, summon this to your field, and your opponent gets a token whose attack and defense is equal to the total attack and defense of the monsters tributed. Usually they'll be tributing links, so if you summon the token in defense mode, you can probably out it decently easy. Though be careful, sometimes a big beefy token can be a bitch to get over. This deck doesn't have as many options to get over those tokens as easily, so just try to wait for the best opportune time when your opponent has the least amount of shit on the field, but nothing that can negate you doing this. Then, of course, you run the Cyphering Gamma package. Too good not to. Since it's a going first deck, this is not so good in your opening hand, but if you know you're going second, this is amazing. This card basically says if you control no monsters, you can special summon this from your hand, and then this from your hand deck or grave. Both must be summoned, and if they are, you negate the activation of a monster effect and destroy it. So this will get rid of any threats that your opponent may try to do, but if you're going first, it's not very good if you end on a Sarah, because you can't then play it. Of course, you also run 3 Evenly Matched, because it's a field clearer. This card basically says that you can activate it from your hand if you control no cards. And at the end of the battle phase is when this card can be activated. Your opponent must banish face down cards they control to equal the same number of cards you currently control. So the goal is to go battle phase and activate this from your hand. You only control 1 card. Now your opponent must banish all copies or all cards they control except 1 face down. Kind of making it easier and less of an uphill battle. And because back row is a thing, I wanted to run something that could be Traptrix out easily enough. You run 3 Heavy Storm Duster. You want to activate this during your opponent's turn because you can't do your battle phase the turn it's activated, but it lets you destroy 2 spell or traps on the field, and again, it is Traptrix searchable. That is kind of the deck for the most part. In testing, it's done pretty good. I don't really have anybody to do duels with, and I'm so sick of online simulators, I swear. But if you'd like to see a few test hands, some combo plays, message below. I will go ahead and do those. And as always, y'all, please stay safe with COVID out there. Do what you gotta. Let your family know you love them. And until next time, peace out. Rock on.